Well, good morning and welcome to the last day of the 2021 OSU Medicine 411. It's great to have you guys here again. Josie, Galen, all of you guys. It's been great to see you guys every single day. So we appreciate you being here with us, and we're ready to kick off this last day. So just a reminder, we are going to be recording and I'll send these out tomorrow so you guys can watch them back. If you have any questions, be thinking of those throughout the session, and then we will open the floor at the end. But as for now, I'm going to hand it off to our healthcare administration student, Matt Yell.
Good morning. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Thursday. I am just glad that you guys are thinking about furthering your education at this age, and I think that's a great thing. Myself in high school, I really wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to end up or what exactly I wanted to do. So I'm sure there's tons of questions about that, and the road and the structure that you will go on, and it's a journey. So but a little bit about myself. So my name is Matthew Yell. I am a MHA graduate from OSU CHS in May of 2021, class of 21. So I recently graduated. I am from the Dallas, Texas area. Grew up in McKinney, so North Dallas my entire life. Left there, went to Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches, Texas, in East Texas. Went from giant city of Dallas to a city of about 20,000 people. So that was a change, but it was a great experience. And then after I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I came up here to Tulsa, to OSU, to pursue my Master's of Healthcare Administration degree. So that's a little bit about me. So let's start it off with, what is healthcare administration? I know that, healthcare administration to some may be something that you guys have never thought about. When you think of healthcare, everybody thinks of nurses, everybody thinks of doctors, but healthcare administration really doesn't come up too often to the average person. So healthcare administration, just a little bit, is, I would like to consider it the field that encompasses leadership and encompasses management and administration of both public and private healthcare. So that can include hospitals, that can include clinics, that can include nursing homes. I mean, there's various platforms and networks within healthcare that you can go into within healthcare administration. So that's a little bit broad view. You can dive in deeper. There's tons of information that you can get into with healthcare administration about the finite details of the different fields, the different systems. I mean, public versus private. There's a lot of information on that. So if you guys are interested in that. So why did I decide to do healthcare administration? I decided to do healthcare administration because I knew at a young age, I wanted to do something in healthcare. I wanted to maintain that job security, but I didn't know if I actually wanted to be a doctor, a nurse, or whatever. So luckily, my entire family works in healthcare in some regard. So I was able to kind of shadow different positions, different fields within healthcare to get a sense of, what they do, what their job's like every day. And after I ended up shadowing with one of the administrators, I fell in love with it. I like the fast-paced environment. I like being able to kind of have a sense of each department with whatever. If you're in a hospital or if you're in a clinic, you kind of have a sense of everything rather than just being narrow-minded and focused on one particular specialty. So that's kind of why I chose to go onto the healthcare administration side rather than if I wanted to be a doctor or a nurse. So what can you do after you graduate? So like I said, I graduated in May, a couple months back. I am now the clinic manager of the behavioral science and behavioral medicine clinic here affiliated with OSU Medicine. that was, a great opportunity for me. With graduating in May, I began the job at the end of June. So not too much of a separation between me graduating and me finding my first job. OSU itself has tons of resources available to students after they graduate while they're in the program. So that was wonderful to me. I made tons of connections within the program, within OSU Medicine itself, and that gave me the opportunity to kind of have my name out there when this position came up. Then I was able to apply, and I was luckily given the opportunity with this job. So, but in the sense of what can you do, there are various different avenues and different paths you can take with a healthcare administration degree. You can go in the sense of hospital administration. You can work your way up to the COO, the CEO level. You can do human resources. You can do compliance. You can step out of the hospital setting and go into the clinic system, which is what I chose. We're an outpatient clinic still affiliated with OSU Medicine to the hospital downtown Tulsa, but there are plenty of different avenues that you can go about. And so don't think that you get a healthcare administration degree and you're focused and narrow-minded on one specific job. There are tons of different opportunities that you can do with that degree. So kind of going back, my bachelor's degree, so you guys are in high school, so you guys got to go to get your bachelor's degree before you think about going into your master's program. So I got my bachelor's degree from Stephen F. Austin State University, like I said, in Nacogdoches. My degree was focused on health science with a focus in community health and a minor in public administration. So kind of got that business aspect of it, the economics, the accounting, the finance, but I also got the health science portion of it, to where I think that was a great choice for me to kind of get an overall sense of healthcare in general, getting the best of both worlds between the business side and the healthcare side also. So I think that was a great an avenue for me to go during my bachelor's degree. Moving on, admission process. So if you do choose to do healthcare administration, Amanda Ben, who is our advisor, is going to become your best friend, because she was definitely very helpful to me on this journey. She's always there to answer any questions, anything like that. But so the admission process, and Amanda, feel free to jump in because you are definitely an expert on this more than I am, but you submit a transcript from your bachelor's degree. You submit a statement of qualifications, just explaining a little bit about what you are, what your goals, what your objectives are, and kind of outlooking things that you would like to do with this degree. Is there anything else, Amanda, that they have to submit?
No, most students sometimes do letters of recommendations. They're not required, but you can always submit those if you like. Our website, the healthcare administration website, there is kind of a steps to admissions. And Matthew was talking about a statement of qualification and goals. There is about 6 or 7 questions that are listed on our website that have questions, why are you passionate about healthcare administration? How'd you find us? What do you plan on doing with your degree? You do not have to be healthcare in a healthcare field of any sort. You don't have to have majored in biology or chemistry or whatever. It doesn't matter, because you are going to learn everything and all things about healthcare administration in our program. So it's not like there's no prerequisites. There's no, you needed to take, chemistry or anything before you came into our program, getting accepted to our program. So it's just kind of a step. It's a really helpful resource on our website of just going through the steps of admissions. It's pretty simple. Usually takes about a week to get a response once you submit your application. And we have different start dates for our semesters. We have 16-week courses and we have 8-week courses. So you can, start in August. If you say you want to start in the fall, you can start the August date, or if you want to wait until August or October, you can start then. whatever works best for you. This program is self-paced, which means that once you start the semester, you're going to have access to all of your assignments, your syllabus, everything that's going to be needed for a course, and you can work at your own pace, or you can stay with the syllabus and the schedule, whatever works best for you. Some students, most of our students, I will say, are already in the job field, working adults. So they have the luxury or the opportunity to kind of work ahead if they know that they've got, projects coming up or life is happening. They can kind of work this program around their own schedule. So that's kind of that's a good advantage for a lot of our students that when they have this program. One thing I did want to talk about is we offer more than just masters. We have certificates, graduate certificates, and we also have, not only do we have a Master of Science in Healthcare Administration, but we have a Master of Science in Global Health. So you have the opportunity to do a Global Health MS or an HCA MS. Global Health MS is going to be more obviously centered toward global health, especially, the pandemic that we're going through, COVID that's happening. Been focusing a lot on that for that program. How internationally, how other healthcare systems, take care of their, citizens, take care of their, hospitals, how they run their hospitals. I'm sure Matthew probably took a couple of those global health classes, so he can kind of, talk more about what you learned in those classes. But global health is another option that you can do if you're not interested in taking healthcare administration courses.
Yeah, our courses are, speaking from experience, I truly loved our coursework. You, like she said, you have your global health courses that do take a broad spectrum look at healthcare globally. And then you have the healthcare administration MS degree, the HCA program, that kind of gets you looking at legal, you get looking at ethics, you get looking into different leadership tactics, you get looking at the accounting and auditing and finance section of it. So I really think there's a best of both worlds, that whichever one you choose. So for your master's program, we require 32 credit hours to get your master's degree. That may seem like a lot, but I finished within 2 years, maybe a little over 2 years. So I typically took 3 classes per semester. I took a summer class here and there as I chose, but it is definitely manageable. It is not just something that you get thrown into it. You got coursework for days and you're just overwhelmed. So I really like that about this program, that there was definitely that sense of you can do this. It's definitely feasible. So what did I enjoy most about graduate school? I really liked because graduate school is definitely different than your undergrad degree. I felt like in my undergrad degree, it was test, you got a lot to remember, you got to, it's more of a sense of memorization, apply it to the test. That's how you get your grade. And graduate school, it's more of situation scenarios of what would you do? How would you go about it? I loved when we would be in one of our courses and we would get put into situations of, this is a situation, let's say you were the manager of X. This was the situation that came up. How would you go about fixing it? How would you go about resolving it? And so I really liked that because I felt like it definitely prepared me for this job, particularly as a clinic manager. There are constantly situations, there's constantly things that come up and arise each day. And I feel like being able to apply that knowledge that I gained and developed in my master's program to this was definitely helpful. Favorite subject, man, I don't know. I'm kind of weird. I like finance. I like auditing and accounting. So I really like those. But I probably would say our leadership courses, I feel like those were a great tool that you can utilize, outside of healthcare. Leadership in general, no matter what job, no matter what position you're in, you're going to have some sense of leadership. So getting that, and we have, I think, at least 2 or 3, maybe 4 leadership courses, and they progress as they go. So getting that foundational level and then building on that, I think, was very vital to my leadership development moving forward. So I think that was probably my favorite subject going through the program. Most challenging thing about graduate school. Most challenging, I don't know. Probably that transition of undergrad, because you're in that sense of, just memorization. I don't really have to, a lot of times in my undergrad, we had 500 students in a class, didn't really get much speaking time during class. So it was just, hey, listen to the professor, take your notes, memorize, take the test, move forward. And it was completely different in the graduate program, because our class sizes, maybe when I did in-person classes before COVID happened, we might have had 5 to 10, most of it was like 15 or 20 maybe. And so it was a very personable experience, to where if you had a question, it was, hey, let's go over this, or it was a lot of interaction from professor to student. And I really like that. Small classes, I think, is always beneficial to the student, and obviously the professor, because they get to interact more.
I would also add in that, Matthew's discipline, self-discipline,
Yeah.
because in your master's program, you're going to have to to make sure that you do all of your assignments, you're on your own. But like you said, master's is a lot different than your undergrad. It's more philosophical. Tell me what you feel about this. Tell me what you think about this. You'll be put in real life situations, things that might happen to you when you're in the workforce.
Yeah. And I love the self-pace. During my last semester, when I knew I was about to graduate, I finished all my coursework in like 3 weeks, got it knocked out, and I didn't have to worry about much after. So I really like that. Now, obviously that's not, I didn't do that every semester, but that last semester, I really like that opportunity to, it is self-paced, and it's your responsibility to stay on top of that. So are you able to work during your graduate program? So I know a lot of fellow classmates had a professional job, already was in the workforce working while they were taking their graduate degree program. I myself was a graduate research assistant within the psychiatry and behavioral science department, which turned into my current job of clinic manager of the psychiatry and behavioral medicine clinic. So that was great for me. I was in there for the majority of my time here getting my degree. It was about 2 years I was working as a graduate student, and it was a great experience. Getting the sense of more interaction with faculty. You're getting that real world scenario, because what I did was I came straight from my bachelor's degree. I didn't take any time off. I went right into my master's program, which, some people differ, but I was, straight from my undergrad into my graduate degree. So that was a great opportunity for me to get more of a sense of a real world scenario. And it's definitely possible. I mean, the work to class and coursework balance is definitely doable. I didn't have really any problems balancing. You just got to be responsible and keep up with your coursework, just like you had to do in your bachelor's, just like you had to do in high school. I mean, it's nothing new. It's just responsibility aspect. So I think it's definitely possible to work and continue on with your master's program. Last thing I've got is any advice for students now. My advice would be to expose yourself to as much as you can within the field that you would like to pursue. When I was in high school, I shadowed as much as I possibly could, various healthcare administrators from all different levels, from hospital to clinics to whatever I could get my hands on. And I think that was vital to my success of already having some sense of knowledge of what the day-to-day workflow is for an administrator in various different networks. And so my only advice would be whatever you guys are passionate about, whatever you guys are interested in. And obviously, things could change as you get into your undergrad, but here and now, whatever you guys are interested in, immerse yourself in that environment as much as possible. Get yourself as much exposure to that as you possibly can, because that was vital to my success. So that would be my advice to anybody that asks. But that is all I have. Amanda, do you have anything else you want to touch on that I might have missed, or elaborate more on anything?
Well, the only thing I can really think of is that I don't know if many of you have heard about the collaboration that the graduate programs here on our campus have with the medical school, to where you can be what we call a dual degree student. So you can be accepted into med school, and you can also be accepted into a graduate program at the same time. And you can get your MS in global health, MS in healthcare administration, MS in forensic sciences while you are going to med school. So that's kind of becoming a trend for students here as well, as they're thinking, well, I'm going to be here in med school, might as well get my master's degree while I'm here as well. How that program works is that most students, their first year, they complete all of their MS requirements for the program, and then they start their med school classes. You'll be able to use it'll work out to where your transfer hours and your med school hours will combine, so you'll be a dual degree student when you graduate. I know on our website and on the HCA website, we have information about that, but I'm sure COM website does as well. So I encourage you, if that sounds interesting, to look into that. It's a great program, and you've got a lot of options if you want to, get your master's while you're going to med school.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
does anybody have any questions for us or anything? I'm sorry, Matthew, I didn't cut you off.
I was just going to say, I can't recommend this program enough. I mean, from the faculty to the coursework. I mean, if you do choose to do healthcare administration here at OSU, I definitely think you will have made a great choice. Dr. Hess, who is our chair of our department, is wonderful. Can't speak highly enough about him. So just from my experience alone, it was a great choice, great decision, and I would recommend it to anybody.
Thanks, Matthew. Does anybody have any questions for us or anything?
So I know that because a concern for a lot of students as they're considering college and graduate school is the debt that they might be taking on. Is there opportunities for scholarship within the healthcare administration program?
Good question. Most of our students go through financial aid, the FAFSA forms. When you start the program, we specifically do not have any scholarships for our students, but we do assist our students, give them opportunities. If I get any information about scholarships or even internships, I make sure that the students receive that information. I do encourage most of our students, so if they do need help finding scholarships, we'll help them. But if you go on the OSU's website, the main OSU Stillwater's website, they have a resource to find scholarships for graduate students on the grad student level.
Okay. And Matthew, would you say during your schooling, were you on campus a lot, or were you able to have some flexibility there?
Well, before COVID, I would like to say I was on campus quite a bit. I chose to do our in-person classes as much as I possibly could. But while I was working as a GRA, I was up there doing that very often. So campus is great. I would definitely say that before COVID, whenever I possibly could, I would be on campus as often as possible.
Okay, if no one has any questions, again, feel free to unmute yourself and just ask those, or if you want to chat them while Matt is here, so we can get those answered while Amanda's here. I know that, so what would you say the main difference in a master's in healthcare administration and a master's in business administration is? Because I know those are kind of similar.
Classes, the courses that you'll take. honestly boils down to that. And that's another program that we have as well, is the double degree. We call that the double degree of MBA HCA. You can do 45 hours and get your MBA as well as your master's in healthcare administration. The MBA courses are focused more on the business side. You know, you'll do more entrepreneurship classes, financial courses, kind of expanding on ours. And then on the healthcare administration side, you're going to learn about, legal aspects of healthcare administration. What happens if you're at a hospital and the hospital gets sued? How are you going to handle that? Ethics. How do you handle an an ethic problem that's in your hospital or your clinic that you're running? How to be a manager, how to be a good leader, because most of these graduates, when you do graduate, you're going to probably be in some kind of leadership role, whether that be a team leader, a supervisor, a boss. So it's good to have, leadership concepts. So the MBA, I would say, is more on the business side, and then healthcare administration is healthcare focused.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, healthcare administration is, you're immersed into that healthcare system, that healthcare setting of, hey, you are, whatever position within a hospital, whatever, or a clinic, or different healthcare networks. And it's, focused on that aspect rather than if you were just in an MBA program, it's, hey, let's just focus on accounting and principles and, auditing stuff like that. It's more of just a generalized business degree, whereas an HCA program is more focused on healthcare.
Okay, well, if we don't have any more questions, we will go ahead and wrap this up. But thank you both Amanda and Matt for being here today. We appreciate hearing all about the amazing program that we have here on our campus and what it would look like to be a student there. So thank you for being here today.
Absolutely.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, perfect. All right, well, we have one more session today, and that will wrap up our event for the year. So at 11, we're going to be hearing from one of our current medical students on her experiences and how she got onto our campus and what it looks like now that she's here. So it'll be the same Zoom information. So I hope to see you guys there at 11. See you soon. All right, well, good morning. Welcome back to some of you all. If not, we're glad to have you either way. So we are starting our last session for the 2021 OSU Medicine 411. It's been a really great program so far. It's been really great to see all of you guys throughout the week. Just a reminder, we are recording. I know you guys have heard me say that every session, but I'll send out all of these videos tomorrow so you can watch them back if you missed anything or if you have any questions. But as for now, I'll hand it off to our last presenter, Abby Huddleston. She is one of our medical students and is gonna talk to you guys about her experiences and what it means to be a medical student.
Hi guys, my name is Abby. I'm an MS2 this year. I'm from Noble, Oklahoma, which is this really small town just outside of Norman. And I've got a list of questions here that are frequently asked, so I'm just going to go through them. If you guys have any questions or anything, I'm sure you can drop them in the chat, and then I will answer them whenever they show up. So without further ado, so the first question is, why did you decide to go into medicine? So my story is kind of, I wouldn't say non-traditional. I'm not a non-traditional student, but it wasn't one of those things where I knew, just as a kid that I wanted to go into medicine. Stereotypically, you kind of hear that a lot. There's a lot of people who are like, when I was 5 years old, I knew I wanted to be a doctor, but I did not. So, growing up, it was kind of just one of those things where I really loved science. I really loved anatomy, getting to learn new things. So that was really big for me. And my dad, he was a paramedic when I was a kid, and then furthered his education to become a nurse now. And so I got to see him, diving into medicine and, becoming a servant to people in the medical community. And I really wanted, a job that was fulfilling like that for myself. And, with my love of like learning new things and solving puzzles and that kind of thing, I eventually transitioned into wanting to become a doctor. Another part of that is like as a kid, so I have an older brother, and then like two cousins who are both boys who were around the same age as us. And we all hung out together a lot as kids. Our families were really, really close, and they loved to go hunting. Like my dad and my uncle would take the three of them hunting. I wanted to go, a little bit just because I didn't want to be left out. I wanted to be one of the guys, right? But I could never sit still and shut up long enough to hunt anything. And so I figured out the hunting was not for me. But whenever they would bring the deer that they had hunted home, I was always the one to help, clean it and get it ready for packaging and stuff like that. Whereas my brother and my cousins would like run away screaming. And so that was always a big thing for me. Kind of helped me realize that like science and medicine was something that I wanted to do with my life. So the next question is, where did you get your bachelor's degree from? So I graduated from the University of Oklahoma in 2020. So this past May, or not this past May, but the May before that. Your degree does not have to be from OSU. It can be from anywhere. And then, so if you want to go to OU for undergrad, that's perfectly fine. The one issue that I've had going from OU and undergrad to OSU as a medical student is it's kind of difficult to get yourself to say go pokes after a little while. Like my finger guns were a little weird for the first couple of months, but you get used to it. Let's see, what degree did you earn? So that's, I feel like that's a really hot button question that we get a lot of the time, is that people want to know, do you have to get a science degree to become a medical student or to go into medicine? And the answer to that is no. I got a Bachelor's of Arts in Journalism and Public Relations from OU. So I did not have that science background. The biggest advice that I would give, going into undergrad, is to major in something that you enjoy, that you're really interested in, because if you enjoy it and you're really interested in it, you're more likely to get really good grades. And GPA is kind of important, with medical school applications. And so that's why I stuck with journalism and public relations, because I really love to write. And so in order, like the only requirement that you have to have to transition from undergrad to medical school is that you have to take certain science prerequisites. And so what I did was I majored in public relations and then took my science courses on the side and ended up minoring in chemistry, just because we take so many chemistry classes as pre-meds, and everything, worked out just fine. And the only weird part was that, as a public relations student, when, I was in one of my major classes and we would go around and introduce ourselves and say what our major was and things like that, I would say I'm public relations pre-med, and it got me a lot of funny looks. But yeah, the answer to that is no, you do not have to have a science degree. The only requirement is that you fulfill the science prerequisite courses. So for OSU, that was stuff like general chemistry courses, organic chemistry courses. There's some like upper level bio requirements with labs, physics requirements, things like that. But it's totally manageable if you don't want to get a science degree. If you do want to get a science degree, that's totally fine. And that a lot of stuff, a lot of the prerequisites are like looped into that. So it saves you some time. But it is totally doable to not major in science. And I was at OU for 4 years, so I didn't have to spend any extra time there. It didn't take me any longer to complete my degree. The biggest advice that I would have as far as that. If you decide that you want to do a non-science major, just make sure that you check in and get familiar with your pre-med advisors, just so they can keep you on track with the courses that you need, so that you can make sure that you're completing things in the right way. Let's see. Do you know what area you want to practice after schooling? So we get this question a lot as med students. A lot of the time when we talk to med students who are further along than us about this question, they always say, don't put your eggs, all of your eggs in one basket just yet. Because I'm a second year, so I haven't started rotations or anything yet. I do know what areas I'm interested in. I'm really interested in emergency medicine because I worked in an ER during college and have more experience and more family members in emergency medicine than any other field. So I have the most experience there. I kind of lean toward it for those reasons, but I'm also interested in surgery and OB. I think it's one of those things where you use the first 2 years of med school to kind of figure out where your interests lie. And then once you get into rotations, you can kind of hone those interests down and see exactly like where you would feel the most comfortable and the happiest practicing, for residency and for the rest of your life, hopefully. Let's see. Like that said, it's not a bad thing to know, like if you have your heart set on one thing right now, that's perfectly fine. I would just say don't close your mind to all the possibilities because there's so many different specialties out there. There's so many different things that you can do. So I would just make sure that you're not like you can devote yourself to one specialty as much as you want, but there are so many different ones. I wouldn't settle just yet, Let's see. Why did you decide to go to OSU's medical school? So I interviewed at a couple different places before I came to medical school. I chose OSU because out of all of my interviews, OSU was definitely my favorite. And that's because, so the interview groups that they invite you in, they're like max 10 people, maybe. They're pretty small. So you get to kind of get to know your fellow interviewees, and you get to know the students that you meet along the way too. They pair up each interview group with 2 medical students. And so you get to like hear their experiences and ask them like one-on-one questions. And that's really great. But also on the interview day, what really like struck me was like as a bunch of us were waiting for our interviews, like they take, a few people at a time, but a bunch of us were sitting in this little sitting area waiting for our interviews. And like any like random OSU med student, who was just like either on their way to go grab lunch or taking a walk after studying something really difficult, like they would just sit down with us and just start talking. Or they would just, they were really supportive. It was a really good family vibe. And at a lot of like the other medical schools that I went to, the vibes were really competitive. And I'm not to say that OSU is not competitive, because we are. I mean, medical students are inherently competitive. We don't get to the place that we are without being competitive. But it's, I don't know, OSU has a feeling of family, and I just felt really calm while I was interviewing there. And I knew like by the end of the day, like this is where I want to go to medical school. Like I want to be in a place where I feel, really comfortable around my classmates and around my professors. And I want to have, that family relationship. Because for me, when you're going through something as difficult as medical school, you need that support system. And I felt like OSU really emphasized that with my interview. And so that's why I chose to come here. Also, Tulsa is really great. Love Tulsa. Let's see, what's the difference between OSU and OU's medical schools? So the biggest difference is that OSU is a DO program, whereas OU is an MD program. So the difference kind of lies in those qualities. So we learn, like, fundamentally, we learn the same things, right? So as a DO, like, I'll know everything that an MD will know, but the caveat is that we also learn OMM. So if you don't know what OMM is, it's osteopathic manipulative medicine. And so basically what it is different treatment styles that we can use to treat our patients without, being invasive or prescribing them medication or, things that an MD would typically have to rely on, right? So we have one extra class, OMM, that we have each semester. We basically go into lab and learn different techniques that are kind of like, moving people into certain positions or using, like, for example, we have a technique called like inhibitory pressure, where you put lots of pressure on a certain point and that helps a muscle relax. It's really good, like, if you get cramps in like your leg or your foot or something, you just put inhibitory pressure on a certain spot and it'll help the muscle relax a lot faster. And so it's just things like that, things that, we can use to treat conditions like muscle pain, or we learn a lot of things for back pain, pelvic pain, just stuff like that. There's this one technique that we do called OA decompression, where you have a patient lay down on the table and you put your hands up under their head like this. And it is the most relaxing position ever. It is like, you can feel it from your head down to your toes. It's weird how it works. But it's so nice. If you come into contact with a DO, like, or a med student, or become a med student yourself here, you should definitely have someone do that on you. I think first year I had someone do it on me at least a couple times a week, because it really, like, relaxes all of your muscles and makes you feel a lot less stressed. Let's see. So the next question was, what is the difference between a DO and MD? And it's basically just OMM. We approach our patients really holistically, and we we learn a philosophy throughout med school that we look at a person as, like, not just like a sum of a bunch of parts, but as like a whole unit. And a lot of things go into that unit and how a person functions and behaves and lives. And it's not just, within themselves, like within their body, but it also takes into account, like, their lifestyle and what's going on at home. We definitely try to emphasize a holistic point of view as DOs, and that kind of coincides with OMM as well. The next question is, do DOs tend to practice in primary care? So this is kind of a hot button issue too, because it is one of those stereotypes that DOs practice a lot in specialties like family medicine or OB, things like that, the more primary care type specialties. And, like, while it is true, there are a lot of DOs in those specialties, but the thing is, like, being a DO does not limit what you can do as a doctor. It does not limit it at all. As far as OSU goes, OSU really tries to emphasize rural health. And so we do have a lot of, a good portion of students go into primary care specialties because they're, like, they want to go into more rural healthcare settings, and that's great. But there are a lot of us who want to specialize. Like you can go into any sort of specialty that you want with OSU. I know a lot of people who, are interested in really highly specialized types of surgery, or really competitive specialties like dermatology. OSU has a lot of residencies that are, specialized. Like they have an orthopedic surgery residency, they have a general surgery residency, and then they have students who match into all types of specialties. So if you're wanting to specialize, if you're not wanting to go into primary care, you are still, you'll be just fine at OSU. You don't have to worry about, getting sucked into a specialty that you don't like here. So you'll see statistics that say DOs, tend to practice in primary care. And while that's true, that does not mean that DOs do not practice in other specialties, because they definitely do. Like me personally, I plan to specialize. I don't plan to go, at least right now, like I preached about not putting eggs in too many different baskets. So at least right now, as a second year medical student, I don't plan to go into family medicine or a primary care specialty. I'm more than likely going to specialize. And I can absolutely do that. Let's see. What is the MCAT? So the MCAT it stands for the Medical College Admissions Test. And so it's a standardized test. And it is similar to the ACT in that it is a standardized test and it's split up into sections, but it doesn't have, it just focuses more on the hard science topics like biochemistry or organic chemistry, physics, things like that. When should you take it? That's something that you should definitely bring up with your pre-med advisor. I think I took it the spring of my junior year of college, just because I had most of my science prerequisite courses out of the way. You definitely want to take those classes before you take the MCAT. Let's see, what study tricks worked the best for you? Taking lots of practice tests was really vital for me. I took my MCAT at the end of January, so I spent most of winter break studying for the MCAT, just taking practice test after practice test after practice test, and that really helped me a lot. Let's see, how much schooling is there to become a physician? So I'm not gonna lie, there's quite a bit. So you'll go through the 4 years of undergrad, and then you'll do, if you go straight from undergrad to medical school, there's 4 years of med school. And then after that, you can do anywhere between, I think, 2 to 5 years of residency, depending on what you choose as your specialty. So it's a pretty good amount of schooling. That said, it goes by fast. And it's entirely worth it for, what you get to be at the end, which is, a doctor who helps people, and it's all very rewarding. Let's see, when do I start getting paid? That's a good question. So as far as like making money, that usually you'll start making money in residency. So when you become a resident, you'll make anywhere from, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think it's like between 50 and 70 grand, depending on like what program you're in, what specialty you're in. I think it changes a little bit, but it's definitely not a small amount of money by any means. That's what a lot of normal full-time jobs would pay. The hours can be kind of long, depending on what specialty you're in. Again, you'll learn more about that as you get into medical school, but you are getting paid, which is great. You won't get paid the big bucks until you become an attending, but it's still any amount of money. And like for me, any amount of money would be fantastic. What do you enjoy the most about medical school? I think what I enjoy the most is just getting to learn all this new information. I really love learning, and I really love medicine. And I think being able to learn that and then apply it is really, really great. We have a class called CPS that is where we get to like go through cases with doctors and our peers, and that's really, really helpful. Let's see, what's my favorite subject? My favorite subject so far has been cardio. I'm really interested in cardio, and I thought it was really fun. What is the most challenging thing about medical school? I think transitioning from undergrad to medical school was really challenging. The first couple of weeks of my first year were really different because I wasn't used to studying so much and being so having my time like so absorbed by medical school. In college, I didn't study a whole lot. So I think, that transition was kind of interesting, and it was challenging, but after the first couple of weeks, you get into a flow and it gets a lot easier. Are the other students friendly? Yes, absolutely. Is it competitive? So it's not competitive in the sense that it's cutthroat. It's, med students are inherently competitive. So we want, the best grades. We want, things like that, but nobody's wanting to tear each other down. Nobody tears each other down, which is great. Are you able to work part-time? I would not recommend it. I was one of those people. I've always been the kind of person who goes to school and works part-time at the same time. Ever since high school, I've always had a job and school at the same time. And so coming into medical school, like med school becomes like a full-time job. And personally, I know a lot of people who did work and go to medical school at the same time. So it's doable if that's what you want. But for me, it was much better to not work and just focus on school. Let me see. We've got some questions. What are your thoughts on robots taking over the medical field in the future? Ooh, that's a good question. Let's see. So I think, there are a lot of advancements where, like, especially in surgery, where they have, more mechanical things completing the procedures. I don't think, the difference between humans and robots is that humans, we make decisions on the fly, and we, have a lot more humanity, obviously. So I don't think that we need to worry about robots taking our places, personally, just because, I don't know. I mean, as a patient, I wouldn't want to go to the hospital, worried about something being wrong with me and have to deal with a robot. I would rather have somebody who can reassure me. And I think that that's a big part of, medicine. That one also says, what are your thoughts on robots? Almost every OSU med student I've met has gone to OU for undergrad and then OSU for med school. Why is this such a popular choice? So with OU for undergrad, I think, I feel like a big reason why people transition from OU to OSU is because, OU is such a huge school. I think I graduated with like 10 or 15,000 people. And I know I started out with a huge amount of people in my class too. And so you kind of feel like, just one of the masses at OU for undergrad. And so with OSU, it's a lot more personal, at least for OSU with med school. I didn't go to OSU for undergrad, so I can't speak on that. I know it's probably just as big as OU is. But with OSU for med school, you get to have that one-on-one relationship with like faculty and with your peers. And it's got a really, it's really refreshing. I hate saying vibes over and over and over again, but it has a really refreshing feeling to it, I think, because, you go at OU for undergrad, you feel, I had a huge degree of anonymity. So I would, a lot of my professors at least in my science courses, which were usually pretty big, didn't really know my name, couldn't pick me out of a crowd kind of thing. But at OSU, it's a lot different, at least in their med school. You get to have that relationship with your professors, and they know your name, and they can say hi to you in the hall, and that kind of thing. That's really made a huge difference for me, at least, because I don't really feel disconnected. I feel really connected at OSU, whereas with OU I didn't feel as connected. I mean, I don't get me wrong, like I loved going to OU for undergrad. Like I will be a Sooner for life, but it's definitely been refreshing. It's been a great choice for me to come to OSU. Let's see. What advice do you have for high school students looking to become a physician? I think if you really want to go into medicine when you're in high school, like good on you for knowing that you want to go into medicine in high school, because I did not. I waited until the second semester of my freshman year of college to decide I wanted to go into medicine. But I think, the more time you have, the better. So if you know, like medicine is the path for you in high school, reach out to like your family doctors. If you know people who are doctors, like reach out to them. I think getting shadowing experience and volunteer experience early on is huge. Racking up things to put on your medical school application early is really, really good. Because anything that can make you stand out to a selection committee is really awesome. So if you can start getting shadowing hours or volunteer hours early, that's really, really good. And it definitely does not hurt you to have that. Let's see. Does this class count as credit for medical school? Which class? I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. This Zoom one. I don't think so. I think this is just an information session, so you won't really get any sort of credit for this one. I'm not sure if you can put this on your med school application, but it definitely does get your foot in the door. If you connect with the admissions committee early, or like people in admissions, and they know who you are, that's pretty good for you too. So I'm not sure how much time we have left. Should I just keep talking?
Yeah, if you have more, if anyone has any questions, I know you guys have been asking some great ones so far, feel free to unmute and ask those, or if you want to keep chatting those. If there's anything else you wanted to say, we don't have a time limit, so as long as you want to keep going.
Gotcha. Okay, so I got another question. How would school play out for someone interested in being a neurosurgeon? So let's see. You would, so you'd have your 4 years of undergrad, and then you'd start into medical school. You'd go through your 4 years of med school. I think with neurosurgery, I'm not 100% sure how many years it is. It's at least 5. I would say it's at least 5. And then, you know what? Let me Google it really fast and see. Okay, so I was wrong. It's actually technically 7 years, but if you wanted to specialize after that, you could do, like say you wanted to do specifically spinal surgery, or like a specific type of neurosurgery, you would do a fellowship after that. And so that would be 8 years. So you would have the 4 years of undergrad, the 4 years of med school, and then at least 7 to 8 years of residency after that, which is good. Because I mean, if you're going to be a neurosurgeon operating on people's brains, you would want to have a whole lot of practice before, they set you loose. So that one's definitely one of the ones that's, you're definitely in it for the long haul. I think I think that is the longest residency as far as training goes. But if that's what you're into, like, go for it. Absolutely. Let me think. What are some other questions? I don't think I have any more. Does anyone else have any more questions that they want to ask? You can ask anything. Okay, let's see. What's something you wish you knew before you started med school? Something I wish I knew. I think I wish I knew, you know, how much time, not like lengthwise, but like from day to day, I was going to spend studying. You know, like I mentioned earlier, that first couple of weeks of my first year were kind of rough because I didn't realize just how much time I would spend working on school stuff. Like, I was getting up at, you know, 7 o'clock in the morning and then getting straight to it. And then, you know, aside from breaks for meals and, you know, sanity throughout the day, I was, you know, studying until I say studying. I was doing schoolwork or, you know, something for school until pretty much the end of the day when I would go to bed. And that was really difficult for me to adjust to, because as far as college went, like, I would, you know, work on school stuff when I was at school and then maybe do a couple of things at home, but I wouldn't be studying all the time. And I feel like I don't want that to scare anybody off, because it's completely manageable, and, you know, you get into a flow where it doesn't bother you anymore. But that's kind of the reality of it, is that it becomes a full-time job. It really, really does. And so I think I wish I knew beforehand how much time I would spend on it per week. That wouldn't deter me from going to medical school. Like, I would still be here no matter what, because I love it. But, you know, it would have been nice to have that preparation, I guess. How do you get into an Ivy League? So, let's see. I think I feel like it depends on what Ivy League you're wanting. So if you're really set on getting into an Ivy League, I would start researching them early. Columbia. Okay. I don't know their specific numbers. I would start researching them early to see, you know, what their admitted students numbers are trending at. There's a really good application through the AAMC called the MSAR. It's like the Medical School Admissions Requirement program. I think I can't remember how much it was. I think it was like $20 for a year subscription, but you can log on and you look at their, at like any MD schools, GPA averages, their MCAT averages, what their admitted medical students like had on their applications, like as far as volunteer hours or shadowing or research, things like that. And that could really help you see where you need to be. With Ivy Leagues, they tend to have really high MCAT scores, really high GPAs. And then they also, it seems like they value, you know, having some sort of special story. Like, if you have a really interesting personal statement, like you have to write a personal statement for your application, Ivy Leagues really seem to favor that, because they get tons of applications every year, and they have a lower acceptance rate, right? And so if that's what you want to do, go for it. Just know, like, they have, I mean, you'll be competing with a lot of people, basically. So if there's one that you're set on, I would definitely suggest, you know, researching that particular program and seeing what their MCAT scores are like, what their GPAs are like, what their basically their average application would look like. Because some schools, they value different things. So like, for example, there are some schools that value volunteer hours a lot. So they want their applicants to have a ton of volunteer hours, or there are some schools that are research heavy. So they would want their applicants to have lots of research. So I would definitely take a look at that and see what their students are doing. And then if you really want to get in there, do what their students are doing, because that'll make you really competitive as far as Ivy League goes. So does that help? And if anybody else has any questions, now is the time to throw them out there.
Okay, well, if there's any other questions or anything you guys think of later on that you want to ask Abby, feel free to send those to me and I will pass those on to her so we can get those answered for you. But thank you so much, Abby. That was a great way to end this program, and it was really great hearing about your experiences and how you got here. So thank you for being with us.
Of course.
All right, perfect. Well, that is going to wrap up our OSU Medicine 411 event. So it's been a pleasure having you all at our sessions and hearing about our different programs and what it means to be a student on our campus. So we hope to continue to have you guys at our events. Our next one is going to be the pre-health roundup, and that is going to be on October 1st. And that's a way for you to hear about several different healthcare programs that are available to you in the state of Oklahoma. So you'll hear from students on our campus again, like Abby on the College of Medicine, to dental assisting, to veterinarian science. So we'll send more information about that if you're signed up for our newsletter. If not, reach out to me so we can get you set up on that. But thank you guys again for being here. If you ever have any questions, please reach out to me. But thank you guys, and enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Bye-bye.